looking for more customers and to entrap them. So the theme of this World No Tobacco Day is protecting youth from and preventing them from nicotine and tobacco use. The team is coming at a very the youth, the tobacco industries have looked at the youth as the next target of their market. So to start, I'm going to say what we are using, the Zoom we are using today is a free Zoom. So it's a 40-minute program. We'll try to see how we can do it to fit. But please, if after the 40 minutes is a recurrent Zoom, you can still log in back so that we continue our class, our webinar. So the webinar for today is being organized by Youth Against Drug Abuse Foundation, YADAF Cameroon, in collaboration with Pragashnie Naidoo from South Africa. So I would like to introduce myself, Joya Matthias. I am the founder and executive foundation. I am an SDG Sustainable Development Goal advocate and a pharmacy technician from Cameroon. I would like to give this opportunity to my collaborator to also introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Pragashnie Naidoo. I'm from South Africa, and I'm a writer, and I'm a human and children rights activist. I'm also studying with Matthias at University of the People. We're doing public health science together.
Thank you very much, Naidoo. Thank you very much for joining, and everyone who have taken time to join us in this webinar for today. So we is divided into two sections. We'll have part one, which will be taken by me, which will discuss the use of tobacco, which will talk about the health, the environmental, and the socio-economic impact of tobacco. And then the second part will be taken by my collaborator, which will be talk on how the tactics in which the tobacco industry used to manipulate youth and the psychological effect of exposure to tobacco advertisement on the youth. That second part will be taken by my collaborator. So to start, I would just like to give a brief shutdown, a brief review history about YADAF. YADAF started in September 2019 by a group of to help. It came about because of the increased rate of drug abuse, the increased rate of drug use amongst the youth, especially school children. So the vision of YADAF is to create a world free of drug. And the mission is to educate, to equip, and to empower youth with the necessary knowledge and skills to say no to drugs and become active participants in the community, in the sustainable development of their communities. So YADAF function in different areas. We function in the fight against drug abuse. We also function in SDG advocacy, so sexual gender-based violence advocacy, non-communicable disease advocacy, so deals helps in youth capacity building, also involved in research and data, and we also do a lot of online advocacy. So before the end of the class, I will drop the social media links of YADAF for anyone who is interested to join us. So we'll just go to the first part of the webinar. So tobacco is the biggest public health threat that the world is facing. So the epidemic of tobacco is killing around 8 million people globally every year, of which 7 million of those people are active smokers, while around 1.2 million are non-smokers who die prematurely due to the exposure of secondhand smoke. WHO is doing a lot to help and fight this epidemic, but much needs to be done by us. That is why we're organizing this webinar, so that people will be empowered and will be equipped to join the fight against drug abuse. So all forms of, there are different forms of tobacco. We have the smoke and the smokeless tobacco. The smoked tobacco, for example, we have the cigarette, we have the cigar, and the latest that is in the market now are e-cigarettes, which we have the vape pens, and then the hookahs, which we normally call vaping. So, and they also have water pipes like hookahs and shisha. These shisha and hookahs are very common in Africa, especially shisha is common. Uh, it's a latest trend now in Africa, while hookah is common in the northern part of Africa. So the smoke from tobacco contains almost 7,000 chemicals, of which 70 of them are toxic to the body. So smoke actually tobacco affect every part, almost every system of the body. So then look at how in which tobacco affects the system. So tobacco affects the system in many ways. To the most of the leading causes of death, like lung cancer, heart attack, their risk factor is tobacco. So tobacco contributes to a lot of deaths due to acting as a risk factor for the leading causes of death. Tobacco damage the lungs, according to the Center of Disease Control report, that roughly 9 out of 10 lung cancer death is linked to tobacco. Why 80% of chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases like the lung diseases are attributed to smoking. So you can see how smoking is affecting the health of people. Then also smoking increases uh, heart attack because it blocks the blood vessels. It affects the blood vessels, increases your risk of having arteriosclerosis, which is blocking of the blood vessel. Smoking also lead to fertility problems. For men, it can lead to erectile dysfunction. For women, it can lead to difficulties in conceiving because it affects the hormonal level of the women. And in men, it also lead to low quality of sperms. While in pregnancy, smoking or tobacco also affect pregnancy, the baby. So smoking is very dangerous, especially during pregnancy. Delivery, it can lead to ectopic pregnancy, can lead to low birth weight, it acts as a major contributing factor to congenital abnormalities such as a cleft or lips palate. So tobacco also increases your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. According to the Center of Disease Control, a regular smoker has 30 to 40% higher rate of developing type 2 diabetes than those who do not smoke. So you can really see the effect of smoking. Smoking also helps to reduce the immune system, especially in this period of COVID-19. If you are smoking, it helps depress your immune system and you are more exposed to the complications of COVID-19. And especially in Africa where HIV/AIDS is at the rise, tuberculosis is at the rise, so smoking increases your chances of suffering from opportunistic infection due to HIV and AIDS. Smoking also affects the vision, causes vision problems, it causes cataracts, it causes dry eyes, it causes glaucoma and other diabetic-related eye diseases. And also, tobacco also affects your oral hygiene. It stains your teeth, it leads to oral cancer. So those are other um, uh, ways in which tobacco affects your health. Looking at the environment of tobacco is a very major environment that is greatly neglected. Most of the time, environmentalists talk about the dangers of things that are contributing to environmental degradation. They forgot about smoking, but smoking is a major factor. How does smoking affect the environment? For tobacco needs land to be cultivated, and for those lands to be cultivated, trees need to be felled down to provide land for cultivation of those tobacco. This leads to deforestation. And when more trees, deforestation now leads to landslide and soil degradation. The tobacco plant also needs a lot of minerals from the soil to grow. So in this case, it depletes the soil of natural minerals, which they render the soil after some time useless. So they will need to move to another place to cultivate the tobacco. So this continues deforestation. Is a growing process. In the production and manufacturing of tobacco, they release a lot of toxic waste into the environment. This toxic waste contaminate the environment and can leach into water supply, contaminating and causing health hazard to those who depends on streams and boreholes water for their source of water. The packaging of tobacco, like the packets, the wrappings, also increases the number of waste that is being deposited in the. According to, in 1999, it was estimated that the waste product by tobacco industry is 2.5 million tons, which contain toxic and cancerous chemicals. This is according to Tobacco Atlas. So you can see the quantity of waste that tobacco industry are dumping to the environment. And tobacco, the bought of tobacco, they contribute to the highest number, almost 30 to 40% of litter that are gathered around beaches or around waterways. So this plastic, the tobacco board is a plastic called acetate, which is difficult it's biodegradable, but it takes a lot of time to to dissolve in the soil, so it can leach into water. We have seen fishes that have been catched in water and their stomachs are full with the bud of tobacco. So these are some of the environmental impacts of tobacco. Now, let's look at some of the socio-economical impact of tobacco. Tobacco harm, we mostly talk about the health aspect of tobacco, we talk about the environmental effect, we tend to forget about the socio-economical impact of tobacco. The economic cost of smoking globally is this is equivalent to about 2% GDP. This is according to Tobacco Atlas. So you can see the economical impact in which tobacco is putting on the society. This money, this impact, how is it being lost? It's lost through productivity. Those who are smoking, if they are sick or die of tobacco-related illness, the healthcare system, expenses of the healthcare system is very high due to the treatment of the tobacco-related diseases. It also includes environmental management of the waste produced by tobacco. It also involves hazard in which the farmers who are tobacco are exposed to. So, and we cannot forget the immeasurable pain and suffering that tobacco inflicted on the victim and their family. Most of us, we are from Africa, we know what it means to be a breadwinner in the family. So if a breadwinner in the family is a smoker of tobacco and is ill or die prematurely because of tobacco, you can understand the effect that will be on the family. And since tobacco is addictive, most of the smokers tend to drive almost more than half of their income in purchasing tobacco product than buying the necessary things that are needed in the family. Like they don't take care of their children's health and school. They concentrate to buy the product of tobacco. So these are ways in which tobacco contributes to the socio-economic impact. And all this money that has been spent on tobacco-related effect can be used to invest in the economy, to advance the economy, This money can be used for educational system, it can be used for healthcare, it can be used for technology. But tobacco is consuming, is taking all that part of the money. So that is it for my side. And to end, tobacco is the major obstacles of 13 out of the 17 sources. So if we manage to reduce tobacco, achieve sustainable development goals by 2030. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthias, for that. It was really, really informative. As you can see, that tobacco is dangerous to your health and to the environment. Just before I continue with my talk, the time will be up in 8 minutes. We would appreciate it if everybody could just sign back on when the 8 minutes is up, so we can continue the conversation. Okay, so like Matthew spoke about the physical aspects, ill health, about how tobacco impacts your physical health. So what I'm going to speak about is the manipulation tactics used by tobacco industries and the youth, and against the youth, sorry, and the psychological impacts of tobacco advertising itself. So every year, tobacco companies spend billions of dollars on advertisement to promote tobacco products. And this includes e-cigarettes or vaping. As Matthew's already mentioned, the harmful impacts of vaping or non-smoke tobacco. Now, these advertisements, even though tobacco products are aimed to be sold over 21 years and older, research has shown that these promotional ads reach and they strongly influence children and adolescents. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says that 70% of middle and high school kids reported seeing e-cigarette ads, and these statistics are troubling to the public health experts, as research again show that more cigarette ads the youth see, the higher the risk of them smoking. So as you can see, advertisements are still aimed at the youth. So one study also indicates that the receptivity to tobacco advertising and to tobacco products has shown that cigarette advertisements may make people or young people feel like smoking. And this is psychologically related to feelings such as smoking will make them feel more popular or attractive, cosmopolitan, make them feel tough. Yeah. And so with that being said, tobacco companies use a couple of manipulation tactics in promoting their products. So let's discuss some of them. Some advertisements reach the youth at the point of sale itself. So you'll find that marketing is more prevalent in stores where adolescents shop frequently or shops that they pass by frequently. So whether a tobacco company does this intentionally or not, we'll never know. But you would notice that traditional signs have been replaced. And just to note that tobacco advertisements have been banned. Companies are not allowed to openly advertise the products. So they need subtle ways to get people to view what they have. The traditional signs have been replaced by what you call power walls of cigarette packs that are displayed in larger quantities than is necessary. If you notice, it is also displayed at the entrance of any shop, which means it's easily accessible and is situated such that it is the first and last thing that you see when you enter a shop or leaving a store that sells tobacco products. This alone sends out a statement that distorts the perception of availability, the use, and the popularity of tobacco use. There's a research done by Hendrickson that has shown in their study that shops that were 300 meters away from school were more likely to have window displays than shops further away from schools. So it targets the youth that's obviously going to schools as well. Another tactic used is what we call experiential marketing, which creates experiences between brands and consumers. An example would be distribution of free samples. This type of marketing specific to the tobacco industry is aimed for adult-only experiences in places such as bars, clubs, festivals, concerts, in music, cultural events, and people mostly associate a good time drinking, as an example, would include tobacco use. However, these events may also include the youth. I mean, how many of our kids actually end up following the rules of not entering adult-only places? Some of the questions still remains that many young people gain access to these adult-only venues. Does restricting access has a reverse psychology effect, where the youth want to smoke more out of enticement or rebellion? And again, the message that is sent in this type of marketing, that smoking is normal, whether the youth has access to it or not. So it's saying, hey, this is a normal thing. The adults are smoking, so it's normal, you know? And let's talk about vaping or e-cigarettes. This promotes smoking with the presumption that this is the safest way to be part of the in-group. And the other way of getting the youth subtly involved in using tobacco products is saying that heat not burn tobacco product is safer to use, but it's not safer to use. Most of the products still have nicotine in it. And as Matthew's already pointed out on the ill effects of vapor and e-cigarettes as well. Another way is to target gender, which are women and young girls. This is changing the brand. So the way the product is now presented is stylish, offering feminine colors and shapes such as pink or slim cigarettes. And young women are attracted to the idea of being slim. And what also sells is the fact that cigarettes can curb your appetite. And that's appealing to young women because, you know, young women like look at role models like actors and musicians, and they want to be slim like them. So they tend to like, okay, let me smoke because it curbs my appetite and then I can get slim. Interesting thing, in 2009, they say girls have overtaken the boys by 10% in smoking. And that is 26% of girls smoke as compared to 16% of boys smoking. And this brings us to female celebrities wanting to break like the status quo that boys only smoke, hinging on feminism, showing that girls can do what boys can do too. So that's also kind of a bit of a dangerous aspect to it. So these are just a few of the tobacco industry that uses manipulation tactics in the advertising. Moving on to the psychological effects of tobacco. We just touched on how adolescents who are exposed to tobacco advertising find these ads appealing, and this alluring can increase the desire of young adults to smoke. So there are plenty of research that is done in psychology and cognitive neuroscience, which show that imagery of any kind is powerful, especially for young people, as it suppresses the perception of risk, thus encouraging risky behavior. Visuals such as advertisements are more appealing to young people than adults. And furthermore, this advertising has imagery that does not convey full factual information about the product, but it fulfills an array of aspirations of the young by underpinning character themes such as independence, liberation, attractiveness, thinness, as I already discussed, popularity, rebellion, and just the idea of just being, yay, I'm cool. And adolescence is also an age where self-identity and self-discovery is being explored. It is a vulnerable age in struggling to form an identity. They feel the need to become independent from their parents and create connections with their peers. So with this regard, the tobacco industry exploits this vulnerable age by advertising in a way that makes adolescents seek their product as a key to their desired self-image, a way to token their independence and to give, and giving to being accepted by the peers. And as a typical example is having like a simple cartoon character on brands. Brand packaging shows a subtle way this is aimed at the youth. Again, the branding is changed. So there is psychological distress and depression linked to tobacco advertising itself as well. Depression has been linked to young people's smoking behavior, and there's one study that showed that depressive symptoms signifies a relation to smoking, in that those with depressive symptoms are more highly receptive to tobacco advertising. It entices a young person to be emotionally dependent on something, making them feel better than the depressive symptoms itself. So what can we do about this? And there are numerous studies that support the argument that tobacco industries use manipulation tactics in advertising, even though they're not allowed to openly advertise products, by changing the branding, sponsorships, promotion by celebrities, television and internet platforms, experiential marketing, and product displays are all ways of manipulating, using manipulation tactics in promoting tobacco. Now we have all the strong evidence, including the physical harm tobacco does. We can now use this to reduce or eliminate the risk of enticing tobacco advertisements in numerous ways. And in the World Health Organization have highlighted some methods to stop marketing tactics. And I'll read them to you. So you're going to have strategies in place to reduce the quantity and impact of tobacco marketing at venues that the youth frequently visit. Remove explicitly selling of products by not having them in high traffic areas such as entrance of shops that sell tobacco products. Schools should refuse any form of sponsorship and prohibit representatives from nicotine and tobacco companies from speaking to students. Celebrities and influencers reject all offers of sponsorship. Television and streaming services stop showing tobacco or e-cigarettes on their screens. And another one is, the last one is government and financial sector divest from tobacco and related industries. Just to conclude quickly, there's one interesting point is based on the age factor itself. I don't have research to back this up, but I have a sign that says, having a sign that says sold to over 21s only on their box may have a reverse psychological effect on the youth. In a way, the companies are advertising to the youth by saying that if you smoke, you're an adult. This feeds into their vulnerable predisposition, struggling to form their identity. So smoking makes me an adult. It gives off again a distorted image or message normalizing the use of tobacco. So we need to denormalize the use of tobacco. That's what we have to do. And so the impact of tobacco advertising is damaging to the youth, and it needs to be exposed for what it is and put a stop to it. I do have links that I can share, which I will quickly do, where you can read up more. But Matthias, you can, I'm done on my side.
All right, thank you so very much, Pragash. Thank you so very much. And just to add, e-cigarette like vaping and shisha, they are alternative in which they are presented as alternative to traditional cigarette. they are presented as alternative to traditional cigarette that
Yes.
it helps you to quit cigarette. It is not addictive, but research has proven that this product contains higher quantity of nicotine as even compared to cigarette, the traditional cigarette. So it damages the lungs more faster. When you use these products, it increases the rate at which the nicotine reaches the brain is much faster as compared to traditional cigarettes. So this is research proven that the big tobacco industries have bought shares in these companies. Like the Arthur's company in England has bought almost 30% share in Juice. We all know Juice is like the main attractive e-cigarette in the US. So these tobacco industries, these big industries that we are fighting against, they are looking for every means possible to sell their market. It is a business, they need customers. And they have
Yeah.
looked at the youth. The youth are like the next generation of their customers because the death rate of tobacco is mostly at the old age, 50 and above. That's where the death rate is more. People are being killed annually by tobacco. Then 8 million youth needs to be recruited annually to fill in that gap. So our youth are the target of this tobacco industry. We need to do something. We need to play our own little part to help and protect our youth. And the best way, as my collaborator said, is to empower them with a message, equip them and empower them with a message so that they can say no to tobacco. Because if they don't know, they cannot say no to tobacco. You cannot just say, go and say no to tobacco. You need to give them the information. Why do you need to say no to tobacco? So I think that is the main part that is lacking. We don't empower the youth with the necessary
Yes.
knowledge to tell them how, most of them know how dangerous tobacco is, but they still go into it. But if we continue with this education, making them to know that it is addictive, because most of them start by what? Trying one cigarette. When you try one cigarette, you move to another.
Yeah.
In my a personal example is me. In my younger age, I was in a group of friends. When we go out, we have to smoke. Why? Because we want to show that we are adults, we are big. So those are certain things. And in that group of five, I think I'm the only one who is not smoking. All the other ones are heavy smokers now. I'm lucky, but many of the youth will not be lucky like that. So we need to do something to really help to educate the youth
There has
the
been a
ease of
research.
tobacco.
Yeah, sorry, Matthews. I've actually read online there is a research that's been done that the anti-smoking campaigns really do help to empower the youth and teach them. Like if you teach them and if you speak to them about the ill effects of tobacco smoking or just tobacco product, it shows that it reduces the risk of them becoming smokers.
Okay, maybe we can ask the participants to, if they have something to say, a question to ask. So let's feel free, anything to contribute, any maybe experience that you have had with the tobacco, especially the marketing and advertisement, which is completely banned and print, but they have turned into the social media using the influencer, using their sponsorship in sport events, in music events, social
Mhm.
events to market this product. So maybe we would like to get some experience, examples, or contribution or questions from our participants.
Okay, thank you, Matthias and P, yeah, for taking this initiative. And I must say that I've really gained a lot. This is good information. Yeah, and it's so sad that we have very, I mean, the very detrimental effect of tobacco. I mean, affecting even our soil, causing depletion of the soil nutrients and all. And I'm also glad to learn about the ecological effects that comes with it. And it's really sad about that the shisha, the shisha is being used as an alternative, but it's still tobacco, you see. Yeah, and I agree that we need to get the information out there. We need to teach our youth out there and let them know that this is really harmful, and by that, at least we're going to try and curb this issue of tobacco addiction. Because as you said, it just starts with one, and once you start, it's hard to stop. So once become addicted, so I think, as you say, that there's a gap in the education. People don't really know about the effects that come with smoking and the addiction. So it's all about that, and we need to preach. We need to preach to as many as possible, and at least let people know about it more. Yeah. So thank you. Just that.
Thank you,
Thank
Alice.
you very much, Alice. Thank you very
Yes.
much. That is what we are all here about,
Yeah.
to continue this advocacy and empowering the youth. And one example, especially in Africa, shops around our
Yes.
schools. And these shops are selling everything to stop those shops from selling cigarettes. And most of the students, they leave from the school to the shop, maybe to buy bread, but they are
Mm,
exposed to this tobacco.
Yes.
mm,
That is how the youth today, especially school children, are getting involved into smoking because of these stores that are around, these provision stores, these conventional stores that are selling tobacco around the school, which is not right. But most of the time, the government is not doing, yeah, the government is doing enough. Smoking rate has been decreasing, but in the developed country, but
mm,
instead, smoking rate is
mm,
at the rise in
mm,
developing countries and middle
mm,
income countries. So that is why we in Africa, we need to do a lot. The future generation is at risk. So we need to do everything to see how we can protect our youth. So any contribution, any more contribution? Maybe Isaac to share something. He's really in the fight of tobacco. I love his activities in Ghana. I follow him on Twitter, on WhatsApp, on Facebook always. He's like a very big inspiration for me. And we are actually working on a partnership together, which will I hope it will materialize very soon, so that we can join together. And what we need is just one person to quit smoking. That one person that will quit smoking will help 10 other people to quit. That 10 other people will help 100 other people to quit. That is how, bit by bit, will help to make the world tobacco free. So I don't know if Isaac had something to contribute, especially on today's team and the webinar.
Yeah, and thank you very much. Thank you very much, Matthias. And I'm very privileged for you to give me this opportunity to join this great discussion. Um, and first and foremost, I'm glad that we have young and vibrant Africans trying to fight a world pandemic, which is more pandemic than what we are fighting now. Because if every year we have 8 million souls being going off, and we think we are fighting a pandemic that has only caused like just 2-3 million deaths, which annually from generations now we have more people dying each and every year. That's more pandemic than what we are fighting now. So I'm glad we have young and vibrant youth trying to fight this. And secondly, um, this tobacco war has been a very struggle, that because they are very wealthy, they influence and manipulate our government systems, and it affects the advocates' work a lot. But seeing the energy from you guys, I'm overwhelmed and very inspired. With my little contribution, I'll add to what you guys have said is um, we are doing a great job. And I believe as every day we try to fight, as every day we try to sensitize, as every day we try to advocate, the industry also have their way around it to influence the youth. I've been a victim, and I know how it is to be an addicted or a chain smoker, and it's not easy. But every day, my question is one. I believe it's time we start building up rehabilitation centers for substance abuse. That's my suggestion and my recommendation, and that's what I'm working on. Because every day we are out there sensitizing the youth. Every day we are telling them smoking causes all the various cancers you can think about. Smoking causes child premature death, um, um, a whole lot of death you can think about. More than HIV, more than AIDS, more than tuberculosis, more than malaria. We all know that. But with those that they've already been addicted, what are we doing as advocates? What are we doing to help them? We don't have to wait on government. If we can build alliances and start setting up rehabilitation centers, even as little as introducing the nicotine patch, the gums, and whatever we can. If we should start with the spirometry to start, because smokers don't go for checkups. Smokers, let's start dealing with the smokers themselves, because I believe, as you said, if right now I have 12 smokers, I've been able to convert 12 smokers to be non-smokers, which is very amazing. Last week I had one lady calling me that she has quit for like I think 27 days now, which I was very happy. She's just like 18 years or 19 years, and she started smoking for like 6 years now. So you can just imagine. And she called me and you see, so what are we doing to help those that they are willing to, but they can't? I think we should start, because when we fight the industry, we have a way to come up with something. So why don't we now deal with the smokers? Because smokers influence smokers. If you have 5 smokers smoking in this area, before you realize they've influenced like 10 kids, 15 kids, 20 kids. So when we have rehabilitation centers, this is something I want us to work on. This my nightmare each and every day. That's what I'm fighting for. And I can provide any write-ups that you need. Yes, spirometers are okay. Spirometers is what we use to check for the lungs, how soft, how weak it is, and the patch and the gum, they're a bit expensive, but we can get them from outside. Then we have a little gym center that the smokers can exercise, because smokers don't go for checkups and they don't exercise. And we just sign up as a party. And when this smoker is being signed up, I think it will help. It will help. And from there, we can fight substance abuse in Africa, because the tobacco industry, they are manipulating the government systems. A lot of governments, for my country, for instance, we're fighting increased tobacco taxes. And for like 6 years now, tobacco taxes have not been increased. And I have like more than 5,000 people dying each year. And tobacco is as low as, I think, um, 20, 50 pesos will be like 1 cent or something in dollars. Very cheap. Very affordable to and you see. So as they are managing us, I think, and I'm very happy with the thing that the WHO came up with this year. Youth, our systems. So if we can start focusing to help smokers quit, if we can be in line with smokers, give them whatever they need. It might be expensive, but we can start from somewhere before we realize you have a.
I think he's
Wow,
breaking.
wow. Thank you.
And this is a suggestion into the conversation so far. And
Wow, thank you so much, Isaac. You have really like touched a very special part in my heart. That was also something that I'm thinking to going into, because presently I'm talking with one guy who is a smoker. I'm trying to convince her, because, as you said, the tobacco industry is a business. They will always look out to trap the youth. So I think the best method, as you rightly said, those who are already smoking to quit, so that they can help others to quit. And truly, in most advanced or developed countries, they have what they call hotlines to tobacco quit. But in Africa, yeah, we don't have those things. We don't even, government have not even, like in my country, I don't know if they have a center for people who are smoking to come there for cessation. I don't know, but because I've not seen it, I've searched for it, I've not seen it. So these are things that we in Africa are suffering because the government is not really involved in this. So we as young advocates, we need to do something. And as Isaac said, helping the smoker to quit is a much better way in fighting tobacco. Thank you very much, Isaac. Thank you so much.
Matthias, just to add that here in South Africa, during the COVID-19, cigarette smoke and sales of cigarettes are actually banned. So yeah, since the lockdown for COVID-19, they have banned cigarettes here in our country. So I'm glad.
That's a great step.
I'm glad, but the rest of the country that do smoke are not.
Because especially in this present, people are in the house,
yes,
maybe feeling bored. So look for a way to comfort themselves when they are in the house. So the rate of drug abuse and smoking and the consumption of tobacco will increase. And one thing that we in Africa are failing to understand is they smoke less tobacco, like the gum, the chewing tobacco, the snuff, and the tobacco that they put in the mouth. Most of us in Africa that are using this form of tobacco thinks that it is the safest means of consuming tobacco, but it is not. That is a major contributing factor to all cancer. But most of those mothers in the village that are doing those things, most of those parents that are, because it is more common the elderly, because I don't think a young man will start putting snuff and tobacco in the mouth. It is more common in the elderly, but they are seeing these things as okay. But it is harming their health. It is affecting them. And tobacco is one of those things that we need to play our part to really help and secure the next generation. I'm so happy for today. The information has been so high quality information that in fact we are going to work together. We really need to set up. We can help smokers quit. I think that's a very major takeaway from this from me. I don't know if Larato have something to say. I'm seeing Larato is on. Larato, are you there? I'm hearing the child crying behind you.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Child is
Larato.
crying. Okay, I'm sorry I got in very late. I just want to know if you have anyone you know who had stopped using tobacco, or any of us in here ever was ever a smoker. I think it's challenging to actually say somebody has stopped. Is it that easy to say someone has stopped smoking? Do they stop that easily?
Well, I know people that were smokers and they're older than me and they've quit. We've got a few friends. I wouldn't say I was a smoker because I think I've done it for 6 months and then I quit. And I did it again for another 6 months and another time of my life and I quit. But I think what you actually get addicted to is the nicotine in the cigarette. I mean, my husband and I were discussing it yesterday. And I said, I can quit. It was easy for me to quit sugar. It was easy for me to quit like food stuff. But the actual quitting of cigarettes was, although I only smoked it for 6 months, it was very difficult to quit. And I actually ended up telling my father about it because I knew he would kind of like, you know, have me on the line and say, okay, now you got to stop. So that's how I actually stopped.
Because
right.
I think nicotine addiction is something that's not easy to get over with. I understand I understand, but I think 6 months was not that long. However, I'm a little worried about the effects of nicotine and for someone to actually say they've stopped.
Yeah.
I haven't smoked myself, but I really think it's difficult to say I quit. But I believe we can advocate for Africa that is tobacco free. We can.
No,
Like for
because
example,
I
in
mean, I know,
Lesotho.
sorry,
Uh-huh,
Lerato.
sorry. Yes, go on.
No, I'm just saying I know a few people that have quit, and it's not easy, but they've managed to get the willpower and do it. Yeah.
Okay, let me come in.
Is- okay.
Lara, to quitting cigarette is not easy. It's a very difficult and long process. But with the right sources and the right help, you can quit cigarette. That is why, like Isaac was saying, the use of nicotine patch, which lower the amount of nicotine in the patch. They start with a higher dose and lower it so that the withdrawal effect of nicotine will not be that much. Because what makes tobacco quitting difficult is the addiction of nicotine. So the craving is too much that the smokers cannot bear. But with the advance of nicotine patch, it helps to reduce that craving bit by bit until the smoker becomes free of the nicotine.
Yeah.
It is not an easy process. It needs support from your families and friends. But first, it needs your personal decision to quit. Because if you do not personally decide to quit, then it's not going to work. No matter what methods they will use, it's
Yeah.
not going to work. So the decision to quit has to come from you. Actually, I'm studying on quitting methods on how to help people to quit because I'm interested. I want to go into that domain to help people to quit. So I'm doing a lot of online studies on how to enable people to quit cigarette. So one thing I've learned is that the decision must come from the person. That's the first step. The person must decide. If the person decides to quit, then it is okay. The next thing, you need psychological support.
Yeah.
Because it's going to affect the person's psychology. It's going to disturb the person a lot. So you need that psychological support, counseling to help the person to overcome the craving of smoking. Families and friends. Then a lot of personal decisions, the stimuli of smoking. If you are more, if you smoke more in the bar, you need to avoid going to the bar. If you smoke more, maybe when you are, I don't know, wherever you are that you smoke more, you need to avoid those places. So it's a personal decision. It is difficult, but not impossible. It is very possible. And I have a relative, my big brother quit smoking some years back, which he has been smoking for a very long time. It was not easy. The family support was there and the personal decision. That is what helps him to quit. So it is difficult, but it is possible, right?
Yeah. Because these people that I
So
know have smoking, they've been smoking like from teenagers. So if they can do it, then we can we can stop a teenager or help a teenager to, or a young adult to stop smoking or not even get there in the first place. Yeah.
We have not
I
heard
think
from Maria. I don't know.
I think
Yes,
I
Lara, to
I
comment.
I think I'm challenged to actually conduct a study because I actually want to know what goes on in the process of quitting, you know. So I'm going to conduct a study here, and then I'll share with you what the outcomes of the study are. I'm particularly going to target the street kids because I think they are the ones that need help here. We are challenged with street kids that are smokers, heavy smokers. So I'm going to conduct a study on that and I'll share with you guys.
Wow, that's great, Lara. That is what we call taking action. Thank you very much. And if we need any, hook up us and we will share ideas and that research because you go a long way to bring out a lot of necessary information, especially for those who are struggling to quit, to get a better understanding of the quitting process, and this will facilitate their quitting process. Thank you very much, Lara. We have, oh, Maria has gone. So I don't know what I would call it a day, or we should just keep on hitting on this topic. But
I think we can have another session at another time. And just thank everybody that has attended. I mean, without you guys, we wouldn't have had, we wouldn't been able to like speak to anybody. So thank you for supporting us and supporting Matthias in his initiative. I think it's a great initiative. And thank you, Matthias, for having me be part of this as well.
thank you so much. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, Laratus. Thank you, Maria, for joining us in this webinar. I was afraid that it's going to be an empty webinar.
Yeah, we were
Maybe
like,
just me and my collaborator, because we waited for like 7 minutes, no participants, and we were like scared. But thank you so much for taking this precious time to join us. And
You're most welcome.
We can make this a usual something
Sure.
and see how we can do to really help our community. So what I would like us to do is that maybe you drop your email address in the chat box so that in next webinar we can then send you an invite link through your email. If there's any communicate, any document, we can also share that. And maybe if you like to have a video of the webinar, we can also send it to you because we are doing a recording of the webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pragash. It was.
Thank you.
I was scared, as I told you. I was nervous.
Yeah, just
But you
before
did so
end,
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some information that you had shared. You shared some links here, but I somehow lost it. I think there's a time I was logged out, so I've lost it. I don't know how maybe I will get that.
Okay, that's why I said just drop your email address.
Yeah.
Maybe I will.
Okay.
I am Prakash will send a link of the studies that we did before the webinar so that you can read more about it. Yes, just drop your email. So this is my first ever webinar. I hope I did well. I was nervous, but thank God it went well. So thank you so very much. I'm so grateful. At least we have participants from Ghana, from South Africa, from Kenya. It was really great. I'm sorry that no one from Cameroon participated in this webinar. Maybe it's because of the light and internet problems in Cameroon, but we hope that our next webinar will be more interactive, will be more positive. If you have any question, send it through our email and we'll do well to respond to you. Thank you very much and have a good, I don't know what it's evening or it's good night. I know it's late at some part of Africa, but have a blessed and fulfilling month of July. Tomorrow is July. So tomorrow is June, sorry. So have a good month ahead and webinar today. Thank you. So we'll end for today and we'll communicate. We'll be on. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay.